What's up, guys? It's Isaac here. It's Backroad Harley-Davidson with your pre-owned bike of the week. This 2017 Harley-Davidson Street Glide Special in the gorgeous, possibly one of my favorite colors, Hard Candy Custom Red. Yeah, look at that right there. Of course, the sun went away as soon as I started the video. But if we were to make a video on the top 10 best paint jobs, or at least our favorite paint job, if it's not number one, it's definitely up in the top of that top 10 list because it's gorgeous. I mean, there we go. Perfect time. We got some sun coming out now. Look at the flake on this thing come out. I mean, that paired with this flame job through it, and you have it on the batwing fairing, the front fender, coming across to the tank, and then on the top of the saddlebag lids. And this one even has the matching tour pack, so you even see more flame come across through it there. So I mean, look at that thing. Oh, look, a little bit on that top of the rear fender too. So I mean, it's sharp. It's such a gorgeous looking motorcycle. Now, if you really want a bike to stand out, Street Glide Special with this paint job is going to do it. But this one is going to stand out even more so in two ways. And one of the ways, if you can't already tell, is going to be in this, I'm not sure the exact official word for it, contrast cut, edge cut. There's a lot of different names for it, and it's a good mix of that Harley-Davidson and Arlen Ness collection on most of the parts on this thing. So I mean, look, you've got the fork lowers. That's probably one of the biggest pieces right there. Fork lowers, fork uppers, mid fork pieces, even the turn signal right there, which we'll get to the LEDs next. The top of the heads, you've got the cam cover, these massive floorboards, not only the pedal but the lever, and on the highway pegs and the passenger peg, and you've got a black exhaust with the, looks like a SVT bone shakers. Yeah, I mean, look at this thing. It's all over on this bike. You know, the grips. We'll talk about these grips more later. But yeah, I mean, the fuel door, the trim piece, that, everything. I mean, even the reservoirs for the brake and the clutch. And you'll see this is a hydraulic clutch. The 17s, they were hydraulic clutches. So yeah, so there's a lot of parts on it for that. The next part is the lighting on this bike. So you've got LEDs pretty much everywhere on this thing. I mean, I'll throw the hazards on so you can see what you're looking at. But I mean, it's bright. I mean, you've got, look at that. Look how bright that is over here. You got more LEDs up in the spoiler. Look at that, up in the bat wing, the vent. Now this is cool because the cool thing about this is that, so I mean, you'll see actually on the new ones, now integrated, you have that LED strip. And I guess if you want a 17, but you still want those LEDs on it, looks like you can do that. And this guy right here, look at that, adaptive headlight. I'm not sure which adaptive headlight that is, but it does look like one of the fancier ones where it actually has a sensor in it, where it will actually, as it'll detect how much the bike is leaning and then shoot light into the direction of that corner. Yeah, look at this. Yeah, you got your LEDs all around. Yeah, and this is a 107. So make sure I cut these off. There we go. And it is a 107 Milwaukee 8. It is still a Street Glide Special, but on this one it's going to be the standard bag, so they don't kind of go over the exhaust, and it is just going to be a 107 Milwaukee 8 motor. But just a 107 Milwaukee 8, that's still plenty of power to get rolling. But yeah, so we'll go ahead, hop on this bike, and show you how it is to tour on it. If you can, if you're going to be able to see over this massive fairing. So we'll see how it goes. Great touring bike. Milwaukee 8s are great for that. Nice, easy, low revving bike for ripping down the highway, but easy to run up and get some extra power out of if you need to. Dual rotors on the front, very easy to stop, very easy to go. Just an oil cooler on the front. Lots of trim, I was saying. Yeah, I mean, one last walk around to see this paint before you're stuck behind the fairing. Yeah, that's sharp. And the parts that aren't that collection match well. Like the Willie G mirrors aren't bad. The Screaming Eagle air trim cover, they're good parts. I'll show you these bags. Yeah, so very easy. Check them out. Cool. So now I'll crack this thing open right here for you. So very easy open. Look at all that room in there, and then you've got the wiring kit there for the that extra lighting on the back. And this is the instruction manual for the lithium battery. So that makes me think there's a lithium battery in here. Recording, good to go. So go ahead, turn that on, turn that on. I'll lift my head up a little bit on this ride so you guys see over the fairing. But I mean, my eyesight is right there, so I can see just what I need to. But I bet there's not going to be any wind on me when we get on the highway. Got the radio. I'll go ahead and cut that off. Everything's looking good. So I got a phone mount here. Cool thing with this, I'll talk about this when I get on the road, but this actually runs, if you've had a Street Glide before, you know this is a little door where you put your phone into. But what they did was they plugged a cord in here and they ran it behind and up around these bars so that you actually you can leave your phone up here and plug it in and then have all those benefits there. And it actually looks pretty clean. They did it in a pretty good job. So that's cool. So we'll go ahead and fire this thing up. Yeah, if it's winter and you don't want much air on you, this will do it. Oh, I do have the little willy wings. What's happening? So sometimes you have to be careful with this thing because people are actually doing a U-turn. So you go to pass them and then they just swing left. It's like, oh, I assume. Hasn't happened to me yet, fortunately, which is because I know people might be doing a U-turn. So yeah, I got the willy wing so I can actually shoot more air up on me. So that's pretty cool. You see that pretty standard on most of the new ones. All the new ones, or all the new Street Glides, the new road glides. So, I mean, not get cleaned out by a Rivian. Not the ideal vehicle to get cleaned out by. If there was an ideal one, that's another video. Top 10 videos to get cleaned out by. Gotta be this Chrysler van. Oh yeah! Haha! That feels good! Put this visor down, man. I need to clean my visor. Ooh. Are your bones shaking from this exhaust? I'll get on it here in a little bit, let you hear it some. This is nice. Put my sunglasses up here. That way, you know, if I'm just running my sunglasses in my helmet like I'm doing now, and I'm riding all day and day turns to night, just pull them out, drop them right there. So suspension feels good. I forgot to check if it was stock suspension. I think I have checked, and I think it is. It looks stock at least from the top view gander I took of it. Street Glide. Street Glide, one of the best touring bikes in existence, I'd say. I'd say it's one of the best touring bikes there are. I'll stand by that. I mean, you're looking for a bike you're getting ready to go, put some serious miles on. What bike are you going to look at? Probably either a Street Glide or a road glide. Because you know just how good of a touring bike it is. There's a reason you see so many of these things out and about. So, and sometimes touring's not just, you know, crossing state lines. Sometimes if you live somewhere out in the country where it's a little bit more rural, and you know, it takes you. Alright, I'll tell you that later. Acceleration test. So we're going to come around this turn, get a little bit of lean, not too bad. I hate how practical these tall bars are. Look at that, a little hazard, a little swerve to the right, a little swerve to the left. The mirrors are in such a good spot, I can see so well behind me. I'm not just looking at my shoulder, it's just, wow, I can see everything. I can see all 4 lanes of traffic there. That's very nice. How much wind is hitting me? None. I think, yeah, it's about, the wind is like 3 inches above my head. So, it feels winter. Look, there's dead air right here, right? This whole area right through here is all just no breeze, keeping the wind off. Man, if it was winter, I could just sit right here, be good to go. That'd be nice. Yeah, 5th gear, 70 miles an hour, 3,000 RPM. yeah, that's a good spot to sit at if you know I need a little bit more power to pass this truck, and I've got room to roll off more if I need to, if I don't want to pass the truck. We're sitting there blind spot there. So let me fix this so that way I'm actually balanced a little bit. There we go. But yeah. Now, when we were talking about the best touring bike, what I see the most, you hear a lot, I've heard a lot of the debate of Street Glide versus Road Glide. What's going to be the better fairing? I've heard both. I've heard some people like the handling of the Street Glide better. Some people like the handling of the Road Glide better. All the 24's handling is definitely improved on both, especially the Street Glide with a lot of this weight taken out of the front end. But I've heard two things. So I'm going to kind of my interpretation from folks that have ridden and spent a lot of time on both is some folks really like how the Street Glide does in keeping the wind off of you a little bit better, because you're a little bit closer to the fairing, so it's a little bit easier for it to go off instead of the fairing being way up there. They kind of like having everything right here. Disadvantage is if you like to do T-bars, you're a big T-bar guy, it's going to be a little bit tricky to do that in a clean fashion. Now there's a lot of bars that are set up in similar ways to give you kind of that same feel, but without having to, you know, like I've seen on some bikes where they just drill 2 holes down there to mount the T-bars. So it's a little bit easier on the Road Glide, obviously, because it's, you know, the mount's right there. But on the other hand, the Road Glide seems to be what folks tend to lean more towards if they're leaning into that performance aspect. Yeah, so let's ride behind the couch and cushion that's not strapped down. So, yeah, very nice. But that seems to be kind of what a lot of folks lean towards if they're trying to kind of get to that performance and much more aggressive riding at those higher speeds. And I think a lot of that's for the obvious reason, it's because that fairing is fixed to the frame of the motorcycle. So you're not going to have much play right there. It's gonna kind of cut through the wind a little bit better without as much disrupting the flow of the bike. So that's pretty much what I would assume why you only see Road Glides in the King of the Bagger series. So on the bikes that you're running, you know, 120 miles an hour is slow for those bikes. So I mean, running at those speeds, you know, that just tends to be the bike that they prefer. You know, I think in like one of the first few years you see the Street Glides, but I mean most of the ones up there at the top, you pretty much just see the Road Glides, and I think that's the reason. So now on the other hand, now there's two ways to look at that. One, you know, are you going to be running? They're running, but are you going to be running 150 miles an hour all the time on your bike? No, you're not. So you probably shouldn't be, at least. So, you know, on one hand you can look at it like that, you know, well, I'm not going to be going 150 miles an hour, so it doesn't really matter. And on one hand, you're right, you know, it's not going to matter that much. See, that's the part of it, because when you run at those higher speeds, because typically when you run a higher speed or go further distance, any small issue, not small issue, but any small thing is going to be exaggerated at the further distances from that bigger perspective or that higher speed. That's pretty. So all that to say, you know, so it's really good to see, you know, when these bikes are put to their extremes, that's the one that people tend to lean towards that are doing that type of riding. But all that to say that this one still takes curbs like a champ. Still a ton of fun to ride around. Absolute blast to rip. Great handling, feels good. I've done most of like the touring, well, most of the touring I've done has been on a Softail, but most of the touring I've done on a touring bike has been on a Street Glide, because I like the handling of them, and I also I feel like I can see where my front tire is a little bit more. I just feel like with the Road Glide, everything's so far out that I can't really see, particularly if I'm like moving around in a garage or something. I can just kind of have better sight of where my bike is before I, you know, hit the wall when I'm trying to turn it around or something. So, but some folks say the Road Glide handles better, so I'd have to look at the, you know, degrees and measure all that and that sort of stuff. But this one's doing great. This one's a ton of fun to ride. This is a great touring bike. This big old fairing, great in the summertime, especially with these vents. This one, like I said before, this one will also be great in the wintertime. So, but back to what I was saying earlier. Let you hear some exhaust. Back to what I was saying earlier. You know, touring bikes don't have to just be for crossing state lines. You know, if you're someone that lives in, you know, a more rural area where, you know, it takes, you know, 30 minutes to get to the nearest grocery store, then your touring bike might be where you want to be. Because, you know, you're probably going to want bags, because if you're going to the grocery store on your bike, you probably need luggage. And then you probably don't want to take the bags off, because while you're in town, you might have to pick something up while you're there, and you hate to not have room or have to pull the bungee out and sketchily bungee something up somewhere. So then you have that. So touring bikes, you know, most of them already have bags on them all the time. You can take them off, but you're probably going to leave them on. So you got that. So you have all the luggage room, and then you have that comfort. So when you're making that 30-minute drive to the Walmart from your house, you know, you're comfortable. You're comfortable. You're in a better state. You're more protected from the elements. So all in all, you know, touring doesn't have to be across the state lines. It can just be, you know, that 30-minute commute to work. Or 45-minute, you know, 30-minute drive to Walmart, or 45-minute commute or something like that. You know, if you're driving 45 minutes to work every day, there and 45 minutes back, you know, I hate to tell you, but you're touring. You are touring. So a touring bike might be kind of where you want to be. So this one hustles pretty good too. I don't think it's got any motor work or anything like that, best I can tell, but 107s they'll surprise you. We've got a car that I can see very well in my very nice mirrors coming up kind of hot, and if they rear end me, it is entirely their fault, because if you saw the LEDs I'm rocking on this thing. Get some acceleration here in just a minute. Oh yeah. Ah man, this thing rips. That's fun. Cool. So, what we got going on? Now that I've told you all kinds of good stuff to know, let's talk about this motorcycle. So, it is a 6-speed 107 Milwaukee 8 2017 hydraulic clutch. You've got our 3 analog gauges up on. They're like, isn't that the guy that came through here earlier? Full disclosure, I'm shooting 2 videos today. Shh, but don't tell anyone that I'm going to post them 2 weeks apart. Oh yeah. So you see that nod? I don't know if you saw my man. The other dude up here on the left, he also likes bikes. So hopefully I can live up to the name here for him. But yeah, so you've got, he's like, hey, stop all traffic. I got this super sick motorcycle that I want to come through. They are swapping a pole out here. So if you're also watching the video, but 1 week apart, then you're probably like, oh, different person. Second shift. Then you're probably like, man, it took them a week to swap that pole out. Like, no, full disclosure, I'm stocking up on some videos today. So, sorry to ruin some of the magic for you. But yeah, anyway, back to this motorcycle. Oh, touring. Look at that. I got highway pegs. Yeah, this is a much taller person that had this bike. Oh, look at my short feet right here. Oh, I guess I could stop and make this turn for you. The backrest is nice. So good for touring, especially because, I mean, this is comfortable for me. But, you know, especially if you're a little bit taller, then you can kind of reach these bars a little bit better. Yeah, I mean, great. And with thick gloves on, these grips really aren't as bad as I thought they'd be. The backrest is nice, comfortable stock seat, feels good. Yeah, we've got all of our instruments right up here. We've got our fuel, speed, engine speed, whatever the other thing is, voltmeter. And then you can see I've got on the bottom end of my speedometer, I've got my gear indicator, miles in the bike. This bike has 17,318 right now, but about to add to it a few more. Got trip A, trip B fuel range. I got just under a quarter tank, and I've got about 52 miles left. And back to the odometer. So, and then I have this screen. So again, a little bit older, but it's a special. So it's the older, nicer screen. So I think it's still touchscreen. Oh yeah, so you get touchscreen. Woo! Cool buttons, a little bit different to navigate compared to the more recent ones, and especially a lot different compared to the Skyline OS system. So, which is wild. Lots of stuff in that thing. But yeah, simple buttons. I've got my cruise control on the left here, which is essential for a touring bike. If you're looking to do some serious miles on, you don't have to have it. It's a great commuter. You've got plenty of luggage room. I'm pretty sure that tour pack can come off. Well, I can guarantee the tour pack can come off, but how easy it is, and how easy it is to come off and how easy it is to go back on are two different things. It might have the quick detach dock hardware on it. Considering this is a Street Glide Special, that means that tour pack was added on afterwards anyway. So you can probably take it off if it's not your style. So yeah, I mean, you've got so much luggage room. So if you got a lot of equipment you have to bring to work, like a lot of photo and video equipment, then here you are. All right, I think I got some good shots here at the Hunt Library. We'll give that a go. See what that's like. In the meantime, let's show them how easy it is to whip a Street Glide around. It's easier when you're not sitting on your shirt. They're like, did he really just come right here to get some shots and go away? I will admit, for my photographers watching, if you don't have the big battery pack, like the portrait battery pack on your camera, you should, because people just immediately assume you're a professional if you put that on. People ask a lot less questions. That speed bump sucked. People ask way less questions. They're like, oh, he's a professional. He knows what he's doing. It's like, do we? But highly, highly recommend putting one of them on your camera. And your credibility goes through the roof. So if you're lacking credibility as a photographer, put the battery pack on and people assume you got it. So, but yeah, here it is. Oh man, so oh, look at that. So I can have these things up and I can still reach it there. That's comfortable, but I can also go on the top of that engine guard. I can reach this. Man, this might have been nicer to go to Milwaukee with than my Softail. Don't tell her I said that. Got the tractor over there. All kinds of stuff. Look at that. We're seeing some new sights. No idea what those mirrors are for. In case we just want to see ourselves while we ride. If you haven't noticed, then I'll tell you. These are some of our first ride and reviews in 4K. I think we did 4K on like one before. it did okay. It wasn't bad. But we're continuous improvements always. And so we're running 4K on this one now. So we'll see if that's kind of what we switch to. We'll see if that's what we go to entirely. But yeah, we're running 4K on this thing now, giving it a shot. And so we're also testing to see how it affects our battery life. So not too bad. Yeah, it's definitely draining a little bit more, but want to see kind of how much more battery and memory it uses up compared to 1080. That's the biggest advantage to 1080, is it's just, it still looks good, and it's just still looks good, and especially on a phone where most folks are probably going to be viewing this, unless you're watching us on the TV, which if you are, I please invite you to post a picture of this. I invite you to post a picture of your TV setup watching this video and tag us on Instagram. But yeah, here it is. Yeah, so 1080 looks pretty good, and it's just, you know, a little bit easier file size and a lot of equipment. You see a lot of issues with that equipment where they advertise 4K, but they don't advertise their camera overheating while it's recording 4K, especially when, you know, it's August and we're recording a 30-minute session out here. So got to keep all that in mind. But I'm trying out the DJI action cam, and it's working great. So it's working great. So if you're trying to record videos on your 2017 Harley-Davidson Street Glide Special, might be it. Those little wings down there, they peak. They're making some work. So riding in the wintertime, I'm a little bit nippy. Or not even just the wintertime, but you know, days like this, especially now, you know, hey, you're used to like a 99-degree day in August, but then hey, it drops down to like 70 at night sometimes. Or like right now, it's hot in the day, dropping a little bit cooler at night. You know, if you're ripping pretty far, might get a little bit nippy. So all you got to do is, I'll show you when probably as soon as I read. Yep. Let's see. I'm gonna get stuck at this light. Well, it gives me plenty of opportunity to show you how these wings work. But yeah, so all you got to do is it's easier when you're not using your hands to stop. Reach down, turn, oh, wrong way. Yeah, so that is as far in as you can go. You can kind of aim it right at you. But block some of that wind, boom, there we go. Same thing on the other side. I recommend doing both, make a match for aesthetic and aerodynamic purposes. I'll give you the screen demo. This is a great place here in the stoplight to do a screen demo. Why don't we? So setup, what do we got? Speaker headset, and you do plugins. I'm not sure if this one does Bluetooth. Bluetooth setup, how about that? Guess it does. Sirius XM, if you still do Sirius XM. I'm not sure anyone that ever did Sirius XM that didn't come with their vehicle. Ho-ho! Look at that, bigger touring bike. Might have a better chance at picking up the traffic lights. You ever think about that? Get a big bike just for picking up traffic signals. So yeah, there's some good stuff in the screen, lots of stuff you can do, but those are most of the features on this bike. The speakers are pretty good. There's a 96.1 banging, not bad, not bad. Good, cut that off. Doesn't sound too bad. Yeah, it's kind of full face wind resistant helmets like this aren't usually the best ones to try out speakers, unless of course it's what you're gonna be wearing all the time. Then, you know, you want it to be set up for how you're gonna be riding. Yeah, but here's the motorcycle. Great bike, just solid all the way around, so much fun. Great touring bike, all the touring benefits you want, and ready to rock and roll, ready to go on your next adventure, and it looks so good. Maybe we will do a video on do like some interviews of people's top 10, like what's their absolute. We'll do a compilation of the top what the Tobacco Road feels is the top 10 paint schemes and colorways that have come from Harley-Davidson that we've seen. I'd be willing to bet that some folks talk about this color right here. So, someone's probably going to say vivid black. Like, yes, your motorcycle is vivid black. Surprise, surprise. So, this one was actually tucked away somewhere else. But yeah, here it is. Oh, look at that truck. Look at that. That's fancy. Never know what, that's the cool thing about a Harley-Davidson dealership such as Tobacco Road. You never know what you're going to see. But, in the meantime, we will see you later. So thanks for riding along with us, and we hope to see you out here at Tobacco Road sometime soon. So in the meantime, ride safe, and we'll see you.